Michigan State University had an online kissing. Berkeley of California has 1,000 couples living together without a marriage license. These are the future leaders of our country. God help us.
C.R.P.H.A. There's going to be a number of topics, and of course, I'll explain other things in between the topics. The one topic is okay. We all know exactly. We've heard, at least a number of us know that the Oakland Span Bridge, be that the original Oakland Span Bridge, was built in the same time variation day that of the San Francisco Bay Bridge. And of course, granted, it was done with thinner American steel, but strong enough regardless. Of course, the reason it failed is because Caltrans kept on bitching in between for funding to take care of the roads and various other things. But yet the liberal Democrats in office, be that of course not only in California but also in Washington D.C., refused to give it to them, especially when the Democrats were in the White House. And therefore the original Oakland Span Bridge got weaker and weaker, and when the earthquake hit, of course, we all know what happened during the Loma Prieta. And of course, many people lost their lives, especially another motorists below the top section. And I will send. I want to send a condolences, and I hope that the family that lost their loved one that was beneath that one section of the top section of the bridge that got flattened from below the bridge. I hope that Heavenly Father will continuously guide you and protect you and keep you safe and comfort you. And believe me, my heart goes out to you. And in the other aspect, of course, while they were essentially doing temporary repairs in Caltrans terminology, that the motorists were still using that bridge by going up and down, in various different directions, in the city on the top, of course, and out of the city on the bottom. But the one thing is that Jerry Brown, before even Arnold Schwarzenegger, which was a staunch Republican, but sadly enough, we found out that that Arnold Schwarzenegger does not know how to govern a state, which basically I'm not going to put fault on him because he's a good actor. I've seen the Terminator and Kindergarten Cop and also Eraser, which he's really awesome around. But in any way, Jerry Brown put forth the aspect that that the state was going to be getting imported steel. Instead of putting more money towards a little extra few thousand or a few hundred or whatever for strong American steel, he opted out. He opted out of that and opted in for imported steel made by China, Japan, various, the Orient essentially. And I'm not going and just know that I'm not racist. Which basically, if I was, I wouldn't be doing this for everybody in the sense of advocating. But I've been always the type of person to consider everybody equal. But the one thing is, Jerry Brown did not think logically. What he did was he put in the money to to get a supplier, have the bridge constructed, piece by piece, like the Statue of Liberty was, and have Caltrans constructed. And KGO, I found out somewhere within this year that KGO, and also PBS of KQED, among other PBS stations, had a thing that 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 showed that the current Oakland Span Bridge, the still semi new one, is is not safe, and there's no way on God's green earth that that thing will be able to withstand a big earthquake that California is still supposed to get at some point. And um, the one thing, though, too, is I did a comment on that, and I can read it to you. Let's see, where is it here? Oh, yeah, I'll read it to you right now. But I will say that the liberals do not really give a damn. I still stand by the fact that the liberals do not give a damn about the American people and their safety and their well-being. And here we go. And I stated this very thing. We let's see, where is it? Oh yeah. Over the course of the short number of weeks and months, both essentially, um, before the opening of the new Oakland Span Bridge, and many people have known that the structure was cheaply made. With imported steel essentially versus American steel. The original Oakland Bridge span was essentially built with American steel. That was built along with the San Francisco Bay Bridge in the same construction and time lapse, being that one set of crew started on the construction of the SF Bay Bridge, and on the and another set of crew started on the construction of the Oakland Span Bay Bridge. As you will see on the link below, which basically I put a link below that showed when both of them were built. They were built the same time, at the same time, on the same day and everything. Not one part of the bridges were built with rusted steel bolts, and as the new Oakland Span Bay Bridge was bolted with many rusted steel bolts. Besides with that, the fact that the new Oakland Span was built with imported steel. There has been many redos essentially on the new bridge, starting with the steel bolts, and it gradually led to many other things, that even the news media has not mentioned at all. The illogical part that happened both before, during the construction of the new bridge, that both the governors Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm not putting blame on him or a fault on him, even though he had responsibility on that aspect as governor, and the brain dead socialist liberal, and who pushed the project even more, Democrat, the liberal Democrat, the brain dead essentially, socialist liberal Democrat Jerry Brown supported the project, knowing that it was to be built with imported steel. This type of imported steel is weak, and it has been proven to not be strong enough to, for the biggest earthquake that is still said to eventually hit the state of California. It is like, in order to prove the hundreds that in order to prove this, the fact that the bridge is weak and not strong, not logically strong enough to withstand a big earthquake that California again still is said to get at some point. That hundreds, if not thousands, of innocent lives have to be at risk, if not lost, in order to show and prove that the imported steel is not strong and reliable at all. That is not a way any state government should be towards the very citizens that live in the state. No state citizen, not even the state's youth, should be put through that in risking their lives, all because the state government in California, to start, is not willing to pay the money for true, strong, stable American-made steel, um, built Bay Bridge essentially. Um, Everyone in California should start and sign a petition to force the state government officials to start realizing that you are equally important as they see themselves and the citizens of California are to force the fact of safety on every level. The state should have the bridges, buildings safe and built with American steel and not with imported weak steel. If we allow our state government to say what they will use to build things with, and we citizens have to trust, have to trust it will not fail and kill us in any earthquake or any other natural causing event. We can be showing that we do not truly consider and respect our lives, ourselves, our youth, and their lives and well-being, along with our own well-being. The California citizens deserve to be respected, cared for, and about by the state government, and the state government has on its plate to make sure that the state citizens, youth are safe and taken care of in a positive, realistic, logical way and manner. We may not have we may have to remind the liberal Democrat idiots in the state government each and every year and month, but with a petition, would hold a petition would hold them hold the brain dead liberal government in more than a bind, to not skimp on building materials as they did with the building material as materials to build the new Oakland Span Bay Bridge. The California citizens could add in the petition is that they need to restructure the still new Oakland Span Bay Bridge, where it is redone and rebuilt with actual, real American-made steel. As the original span of the Oakland Bay Bridge and the San Francisco Bay Bridge and the Golden Gate Bay Bridge was made and built with actual, true, strong American steel, American-made steel, essentially. Even with that, the fact that the American-made steel came from back east in the U.S., the current new span of the Oakland Bay Bridge was made by cheap, weak imported steel, and there is no true fact that one steel beam, as you know that a number of them, there's only one steel beam in somewhere in the center of the bridge, right, of the new bridge, and they expected that along with the connectors among the thing that's in between the two beams and the large beam altogether, and they expect it to be able to withstand it and keep the thing at level, and they think that it won't fall apart to where it would go into the ocean like several years before the Golden Gate Bridge was built. That one bridge back east did, and it's on YouTube if you want to look at that bridge that went into the ocean or basic river, whatever. Let's see. Let's see. What was it? Wait. There is no true. Let's see. I'm going to say it again. There is no true fact that one steel beam that is so-called structured to hold the bridge in place and remain stable to withstand and able to withstand the bridge by itself, even with a earthquake hit while a earthquake hits, essentially. The state of California, and in reality and logic, it will not be able to do so. So the California state government are putting the state citizens' life at more than of a risk by skimping on the cost and safety of the state citizens and our youth's safety and lives and well-being all in one. Generally, that's the truth. And on here, there is a video that has when the Oakland Span, the original Oakland Span, and the San Francisco Bay Bridge was built. And both were built by American steel. One was maybe a little thinner, but it was strong enough to withstand the earthquakes we've had before the Loma Prieta.
Come true.
there towers over San Francisco Bay a realization of the century-old dream. A 6-lane double-deck bridge, 8 miles long,
That's in San Francisco Bay Bridge
with
in
the
black and
Oakland
white.
Berkeley area, spanning the largest major navigable body of water ever bridged. The West Bay crossing is a twin suspension bridge with an anchorage in San Francisco, a central anchorage, and another anchorage on Yerba Buena Island. This twin suspension span is the largest of its kind in the world and crosses nearly 2 miles of deep water. A tunnel through the island connects it to a cantilever span on the east side, which in turn is connected to the east shore of the bay by a number of through truss and deck truss type spans. Building the cantilever and suspension sections was a challenge to American ingenuity. A novel method of sinking the foundations was employed. Steel cutting edges, towed to location between working docks, were built up with hollow steel cylinders. Wooden walls, the work walls, encased the cylinders. New units were added at the top as caisson sinking progressed. This cross-section diagram shows the caisson in position between 2 working docks. Air pressure was maintained in the cylinders to control the sinking as concrete was poured into the spaces between them. On reaching bedrock, the mud was scooped from the cylinders and replaced by a 30-foot concrete seal. Thus were built the deepest foundations ever undertaken, some as deep as 242 feet. On these unique foundations, concrete bases were built to receive the superstructure. The huge steel towers rose like magic. After years of planning, the visions and blueprints of the engineers took physical shape under the skilled hands of the men of action.
Okay, some parts of this is the San Francisco Bay Bridge, and the other they'll be showing another part on here on this video that of the Oakland Span. That video on YouTube, it shows exactly that both of them were built with American steel, which basically means the government, the state government, then truly cared about the American people and the California state citizens' safety and well-being, unlike the liberal Democrats of today. And of course, when I shared it with the people who I've gone to a computer class to enhance my computer skills, one older woman within, say, about between 50 and 80 or 70, she apparently thinks that, oh, the Democrats did a lot for this country 100 years. 100 years ago, there was way less Democrats, but more Republicans. Therefore, also the government was fully run and started being run by 100% Republicans, staunch, regular, and otherwise, before conservative. Although you could say a number of them were conservative in their own way back in the day. So therefore, the woman that claimed that the Democrats did a lot for this country for 100 years, she's a narcissist, lying, senile little old hag. And she unfortunately goes to the same fucking computer class that I've gone to. Thereby, she doesn't know what the hell she's saying. She can't handle the fucking fact that and can't wake up to reality that that Jerry Brown didn't do anything positive for the state of California. You know, I've mentioned a number of them in my other advocate videos. He hasn't done anything positive for our youth. And I mentioned that when it came to Prop 39 on one of my other videos of C.R.P.H.A. as well. And Jerry Brown didn't do anything positive for when it came to low income affordable housing, starting within the city and county of Sacramento and the rest of California. But yet the governors before did. That's why in Alameda County there's a number of low income housings since the 1970s. There's a number of low income housing due to the mayor of the cities and counties of Santa Clara County and the cities of Mountain View, San Jose, among others. So Jerry Brown and the liberal Democrats don't really give a damn about the American people in the state of California to start with. And to show also is that all they've been doing is this. Twiddling their thumbs, doing practically jack shit, acting like they're doing things for to benefit the state of California and its citizens when they haven't really done anything but to benefit their pockets, being the liberal Democrats' pockets. In hindsight, the liberal Democrat, Jerry Brown, did this one thing. I'm going to give you an example, and this is the only time I'm going to mention it again, although forgive me if I do mention it on another issue or subject. But he did do this one thing. Aside from the speed train, wasting taxpayer money on the speed train, which kept the price kept on going, and it kept on rising, and he nearly bankrupted the state. And he did, and one other thing, he announced the high tax plan. The very thing that we have now, currently in law. The one thing though, he did a underhanded, stupid, illogical, sinful action to make sure that the state of California got it. And it was in part of risking and ignoring the most important thing to a parent besides their own survival. Every parent wants the best for their child or children. The one thing he did, though, he kept on advertising for Prop 39, legislation Prop 39, which was supposedly supposed to be for the school funding in the state of California. He then, when it was being voted on, among other propositions, right, he went behind closed doors, and even the Sacramento Bee says this. Not really in these words, though. He went behind closed doors and went through a legislative loophole and changed the Prop 39 legislation from the school funding to his high tax plan. But get this though, and I know I've said this before, but forgive me for repeating it on this one, as I know I mentioned it in on my other advocate videos, is that he literally went against the aspect of Prop 39 for the school funding, ignoring the importance of our youth's education, and only thinking of himself. Really, he wasn't really thinking of the American public within the state of California. He wasn't really thinking of the well-being of and positive benefit of the state in general either. Especially when it came to spending more and more of the state's money on that damn speed train project. but he went behind closed doors, changed his legislation to his high tax plan of Prop 39, so his high tax plan was able to pass because he saw it was about to pass under the school funding legislation. But get this though too, and I mentioned this before, is the fact that about a year and a half or so before, he announced that he was about to so-called say that the high tax plan would benefit California in some way. Really. But yet, here's the one thing though, too. Another part of it is that the news media televised it. Even the liberal news media, starting with KCRA3, ABC7, among others, besides the conservative and regular Republican media. He announced that he was about to propose the high tax plan. The state citizens that were there, the California Republicans that were there, both said it was a bad idea for the state of California. It's not a good thing for California to have, even at this point in time. Even at that point in time that it was when it was announced to now to start. And it could it's been and even in between that aspect, it's been shown to be non-beneficial even before 2019. And it's going to continuously show that it's non-beneficial beyond 2019. The longer it's in law, it's going to be unbeneficial, unbeneficial, non-beneficial, non-beneficial for every part of the state of California, including its citizens. What it's done instead is that many businesses within the state of California have either relocated out of the state of California, including corporate offices, and or deliberately went under, belly up, or couldn't afford the taxes due to the fact that the high tax plan was directed mostly towards businesses in California, which made it to where even with the Obamacare, which I still stand with the fact that it was an unconstitutional health care, that they weren't able to, that even businesses were not able to afford the Obamacare, the so-called covered California thing, which is a which is a another avenue, aspect, and level of the Obamacare. If you tell a person this whole thing when it comes to the Democrats, any person that's a staunch Democrat, kiss ass, socialist liberal voter, you can easily see that they'll be defensive. They'll say that you're confused. They'll say that you're lying. You're all sorts of shit. They're narcissists that do that. And the woman that goes to the same computer class is a complete senile narcissist. And if she's watching this video, truth hurts, doesn't it? The fact of it is that senile narcissists, even narcissists in general, will try to make you sway to their thinking of what they believe. And if you don't, then you are lost. You are not intelligent. You are misinformed. Really. The fact of it is that what I stated, what I read to you, is and has been 100% fact. Whether if the liberal voters and Democrats, of the politicians of the liberal Democrats want to believe it or not, it's the damn truth. A number of liberal Democrats that drive across that damn bridge, even the voters, if the earthquake hits at that very point, when people are still crossing that damn thing, either direction, they will find out that for themselves that bridge of the new Oakland Span Bridge, is going to either swing, or topple over, and the cars will start skidding, and one of them eventually may give out and go right into the ocean, or a number of them may follow suit and go in the ocean. And it will take hours after the earthquake for rescue to happen. And it takes only so many minutes between those numbers of hours for people to able to withstand, even while in a vehicle. And it takes less than a few seconds for that vehicle to be enveloped from within. It'll go right through the fucking vents, closed or not. Right through the carburetor, right through the whole entire base of the engine, right through the crevices of the doors of various parts of the vehicle. It doesn't matter what type of vehicle. Doesn't matter what year either. And eventually, if there's children in the damn thing, which would be a sad thing, and along with their aunt, uncle, grandparent, whatever, or even their parents in general, both or just one of them in that same vehicle, will be lost, dead, all because the liberal government of California was too stingy in making sure that they spend as much as it took to get actual strong steel, American made steel, like the Golden Gate Bridge, like the San Francisco Bay Bridge, to start with, was made with and built with. So generally, there's another part of it. With my other advocate videos, you can see that of why I know for a fact, and why I've said many times, that the liberal Democrats don't give a damn about the American people. They don't give a damn about the American people that they govern, that they're supposed to govern and protect and support, and do positive things for, and have things that actually truthfully benefit the American citizen within each state, and forget about benefiting themselves. Because the one thing is, if you are in the state government or even United States government, and you're a liberal Democrat, and you think, well, I don't have to really benefit the American people. I'll say that I will, though. They'll believe me. They'll believe anything I say because they're brain dead idiots. They'll believe it. They believe Jerry Brown and why he got in office via Meg Whitman. Outside of Meg Whitman voted her under the seat. So generally, the liberal Democrat, just like Obama will think that they can say and do anything and try to counteract of what the negative thing that they did by saying, "Oh, this is why I did it," when really it's only to benefit their pocket. But they won't tell that to the American people. And if any narcissist liberal voters don't like hearing the truth, then why are you watching this video? Because I, a long-time California citizen since the 1970s, will not circumvent to your thinking, the narcissist thinking of thinking that the liberals are better when they're not. There's only one that was, but he was assassinated. But yet he had Republican values, even though he was in the Democratic Party, and his name is John Franklin Kennedy. And those who think, oh, the Democrats have done a lot of good things for this country for 100 years. They obviously reread something that was rewritten by the Liberal Democratic Party by saying that who truly started this country were Democrats, and they did this and this and this. George Washington was a Democrat. And Abraham Lincoln was a Democrat. The whole thing. When really, George Washington wasn't really a politician. He just did things for this country that was more than beneficial, more than we even knew even as children. That we will not even know of how beneficial it's been to and for this country, even as adults. Same thing when it came to the adults before us. They won't even understand it or know why or the true meaning for it. Same thing with the aspect of with Abraham Lincoln. Aside from the slavery thing, he freed the slaves basically, and I don't really consider them slaves. I consider them human beings who were essentially forced into doing something that they knew that they didn't have to do, but the government was different then. And of course, the things were done differently in the sense of oppression, among other things, besides racism and whatnot. But nonetheless, let's wait. I'm gonna put you in a time various. Even the narcissists can use this in their memories if they have anything left upstairs. Okay. The one thing is that if I was back in the time of Abraham Lincoln, the start, and I saw a number of slaves that were what racist idiots would call out in the cotton fields. Okay, and I don't like that terminology. I seriously don't like that terminology. That shows major humanitarian disrespect towards another human being. I don't like that. But if I saw them, and if I was, as I am now, starting to start with, if not younger, I'd make ways to where they would be able to escape. Much like Abraham Lincoln did, but he did it more in the, shall we say, political venue. But there's ways to do it without using politics, but still fall within the law and guidelines. So is he the narcissist of the class that I've been going to in Citrus Heights, and doesn't realize that whole truth, especially about me. I'm not a racist. I've never been a racist. I'm a humanitarian, and what I wrote is what she read of what I read to you off of my phone here. What she read on a piece of paper, granted, because I had a number of copies made, and I gave her one, and only one agreed with what I said on the thing. And when I showed it to her, she gave it back to me. And I asked her a simple question. The only thing she said was, 100 years, the Democrats did many positive things for this country. And yet 100 years, as I said earlier, there was way less Democrats involved in the formation of this country. There were more Republicans and moderate politicians that were involved in the formation of this country, and in which got together and formed the Constitution of this country in what we know as the forefathers, and what we know of the document known as We the People, the Constitution of the United States of America. So the narcissist, senile woman that told me or said this doesn't know her shit when it comes to history of and for this country and about this country. And she thinks that I'm lost. No, she's lost up here mostly. So again, the basic fact is that the liberal Democrats may see what I wrote on their computers if they have their constituents show it to them, even on a sheet of paper. But the basic fact is, it's the truth, and they know it to be the truth. Even if they read it themselves, they'll know it to be the truth. But in this case, Gavin Newsom, who was at one point a moderate Republican mayor in the city and county of San Francisco, California. Thereby now, he, from the points of being a lieutenant governor alongside of the governor Jerry Brown at the time, he changed his party affiliation even about a less than a week before joining in with Jerry Brown. From being a moderate Republican, which everybody respected him for, Gavin Newsom went to staunch liberal socialist Democrat. And even if Gavin Newsom's constituents read him or showed him what I read to you off this phone, that if they showed it to him on a piece of paper, he would know everything I said on that thing that would be printed out is 100% factual. There's nothing that can do, and within the United States of America, I have a right to stand and to say what I want to say, just like anybody else does. But the liberal Democratic kiss ass narcissist old woman doesn't think that therefore she wants to act like she wants to put out like she respects people. If she's gonna be saying what she said to me, which was on Tuesday, the 12th. Oh no, wait, yeah, the 12th. She doesn't really respect anybody but her. Just like the liberal Democrats don't really respect or give a damn about anybody but themselves. There are many narcissist type of people, but if I run into any more, believe me, I'm gonna set them straight. And if she watches this video, and I hope she does, if she watches this video, believe me, I don't care how much she hates me, and if she wants to do anything towards me, believe me, I'll be ready. I stand for what I know to be true, even if people don't want to accept it and believe it and even admit to it, even with the fact that if they are 100% liberal voters and believers if they watch every one of my videos, they'll eventually, at least the ones that are not narcissists, heavy liberal kiss asses, they will eventually see at various intervals that I'm right. If they think back of what's been happening since they've been in the state of California. Let's put it this way: if the state of California does not do, if the state of California government does not do what is said in this thing by restructuring the new Oakland Span Bridge with American steel, by getting rid of the imported steel, I wouldn't blame any regular Californian that's been in the state as long as I have, if not longer, to leave the state. And eventually the state of California will turn into a ghost town in every city and county and town. And what would Gavin Newsom be governing but an empty ghost town? And that has nobody in any part of the state except for himself and his constituents. That can happen, and I pray that it does happen, because the state of California needs to realize it's not about the liberals and their well-being and their pockets. It's about the safety and security and well-being of the American people within the state of California, including our youth. Equally as important. So guess what? Senile narcissist and narcissist idiots and liberal voters that may not believe me and like what I say, but you'll have to deal with it, because I'm not gonna be bowing down to you in any way. I'm gonna stand by what I know and what I strongly know to be actual fact and proof and logic, whether you like it or not. The one thing is that if the woman again is going to watch this, or is watching this, and she acted all friendly and all this, I don't deal with narcissists. I don't deal with people who say that I'm lost or confused or whatever the hell else, like she said. I don't deal with people who tried to infringe on my rights and freedoms. I don't like when people try to infringe on anybody's rights and freedoms. I don't do that. So it would show more logic and respect if nobody else does that to me, or anybody else for that matter. Again, so Gavin Newsom, you need to have that new bridge restructured with American steel. We don't want to have it proven that Oakland Span Bridge, the new Oakland Span Bridge, will be proven to be weak and not strong enough to handle a really strong earthquake that's said again to be hitting California at some point. But no, the one thing is, even with geologists, nobody knows. They only can maybe theorize. Topic number 2. We all know that Albertsons has merged with Safeway. We all know that they at one point merged with Lucky's many years ago. And we all know what happened to Lucky's, don't we? The fact of it is that they devised a way to where they would be able to gradually dismantle Lucky's from within the corporate office that they even shared with Lucky, which basically gradually and totally had where Lucky's grocery store, grocery market essentially went to the points of here on the map to non-existent. There was one aspect when Lucky's came back though, but that was many years after Albertsons had to close a number of their stores that they essentially um took essentially bought from the corporate office of Lucky food stores. And of course, a number of them became Save Mart supermarket, and only a various number of them did. And now it is more than conceivable that they're about to do the same thing to your local and well trusted and family traditional of shopping of your local Safeway stores within the corporate office. They may be doing it a bit slower because they don't want to make it so obvious. In hindsight, Albertsons has become as a normal regular retailer, a grocer essentially, to one that wants to dominate like a realtor the whole entire map of the retail industry within their industry to start the grocer industry. Lo and behold, we've got Walmart. Walmart's not really doing so well from my information that I got. Aside from the fact that Walmart has a number of their department stores, the big box stores with grocery store or built and set up, but also outside of those big box stores, they have now actual food markets. And pretty soon, it is said that Amazon.com will essentially be going into the grocery market industry. But of course, in this case, it would be more on the online base of Amazon, would be putting the grocery market aspect into their website. So you'd be able to shop for food online, right? I mean, currently they're connected with Whole Foods, and not very many people are happy about that. Who's to say? Who's to say they'll succeed in in going on their own venture of the grocery market? But the one thing is, outside of that, but in the same topic, that um, that Albertsons has only one option. to completely disattach themselves from Safeway, where Safeway is still around, and Albertsons just pays attention to their stores by themselves, as every other retailer is doing it by themselves, right? And the one thing, though, we all know that when Payless drugstores was at one point around, um, they eventually merged with the Thrifties. That was okay. There was no negative aspect to that. Then of course Thrifties allowed Payless to have a little stand set up inside a number of a large, if not a large number of Payless stores, Payless drugstores essentially, of Thrifties ice cream. That was a good collaboration between the two. Then at some point or another, that Payless wanted to go into the Hawaiian Island market. It wasn't that long from that point that Walmart made a huge introduction into the Central, West, and Western market fully, alongside a number of other states that they have not entered yet within the Eastern market. And aside from the fact that when they entered California, when Walmart entered California, that they tried to lower their prices lower than any other retailer, even their competitors within the same retail part of the retail industry, which basically California sued Walmart for doing so instead of remaining competitive like they should have been in the fucking beginning. But yet Walmart wanted to try something a little stupid and underhandedly. They lost that, didn't they? But then when Payless noticed that, the corporate office of Payless noticed this, that Walmart made a huge introduction, even in the Western market, that Payless had a choice: either stay in the states in business within the retail industry, and of course the pharmacy retail industry, or stay in or remain in the Hawaiian Island market in the pharmacy retail industry. That was a whole new land, piece of land to explore in the financial competitiveness. And yet they wanted to compete with Longs heavily in that industry, though. I mean, they weren't doing so well in what many islanders of Hawaii would call the states, being here from California on through. But that still made it to where Payless was right here. My finger would be the water, and my hand right here is where Payless would be at that very point. Okay, they were just about to sink completely to the point to where if they went like this, they'd be gone, financially strapped, way beyond financially strapped, broke, bankrupt, belly up. But luckily, they were like this. They weren't like this. They weren't like this. They were like this. So they ended up deciding to close a number of stores in the Hawaiian Islands, which Longs later took in the Hawaiian Islands. And then when they remained in the United States from California on through, they still had this to deal with, and yet they kept on doing this and this and this and this and this. And, within every day of and every hour, there was a possibility of it going completely like this or like this. But at this point, they were still like right here. And that's on a financial aspect of things. But then when it got to the points where they were like this, they sold the company to Rite Aid, another pharmacy retailer. Therefore, the deal also included Thrifties. But what Rite Aid did instead, they closed. They completely um, changed a number of Thrifty stores to Rite Aid stores, and a number of various number of Payless stores to Rite Aid stores. But the one thing is, they did do one thing though. They did keep the ice cream part of Thrifty's installment within the stores of Rite Aid. Albertsons might not be so lucky. In fact, I know for a fact they're not, because Safeway did not make any contractual agreement of supporting Albertsons, and toward Albertsons would do the same thing for Safeway. They didn't Albertsons didn't have a contractual agreement with Lucky's on the same manner. But Albertsons did manage to completely dismantle from within the corporate office of Lucky's stores, both financially and otherwise, by putting out ideas that seemed good and not any financial harm to the company, which apparently it turned out to be. And now Lucky's then a number of years passed. Lucky's came back, and now they're gone again, in certain areas, if not all areas at this point. Now, like I said, Albertsons is merged with Safeway. So I'm gonna put it out there to the corporate execs and president CEO of Albertsons. Albertsons needs to separate from Safeway 100%. No bullshit. Or your stores, where it's Albertsons by itself, even with the ones that have the save on little signage still on them. You need to separate from Safeway with no merging connection, no connection of any sort, and stand alone in your own stores and allow Safeway to keep existing as they are, because they're financially strong more than Albertsons will want to admit or even believe within themselves. And Albertsons needs to be ready by themselves to where, when the time comes that Amazon separates from Whole Foods and Amazon goes into the grocery market, online grocery market, because it will hit Albertsons fucking hard. in their pocket financially, as well as economically, as well as within various other aspects, even when it comes to less and less and less foot traffic. But the one thing is, Albertsons has not been around as long as Safeway. Safeway was around between 1923 and 1928. They started back then as what's known as the farmers market setup before they got to small to moderate sized stores. And then eventually, over the years, the stores got bigger and bigger. Even as they added more shit to it, and more essentially, variety of items and choices. Much like Long's drugstore did, in their own way. But of course, Long's never did the farmers market setup because they weren't really in the grocer aspects; they were really in the pharmacy aspect. So, and Safeway is more than well to do, and I can make sure of that because I will advocate for Safeway. Not only the fact that not only the reason, but because my mother and her mother, being my grandmother, shopped there even when I was a child, a young child, to the points of even before that, to the points of like infancy. But there's many other reasons because I myself have shopped there, and I trust their aspect of value and quality much more than I would even trust Albertsons. Much more than I'd trust Albertsons. I've gone into an Albertsons store in my hometown. When they put a store in there many years after the drive up dairy market setup that they had when I was much younger. But when I got a bit older, they eventually got to the points of the Rite Aid or Payless and Albertsons stores in that same area. And then of course Carl's Jr. popped in. And I still remember the area though too. But Albertsons will essentially become nothing if they don't take my more than advice and take heed to what I say to be true and logic and believe, and they better start believing what I say because I know business well, and with that I know politics better than the narcissist woman I mentioned earlier. And I know our political history more than the narcissist senior citizen woman thinks that she knows. So Albertsons, are you going to play the risk card to where you will end up completely gone? Or are you going to take heed and take my advice and take it more than advice to the points to where it's not a threat or nothing. It was simple business logic. But at the same time, though, too, is that even when Albertsons does what I ask and say, essentially, and even with the fact that Amazon may come in strong with a number of people trying it out, the ones that can afford it, really, in that sense, really. Who's to say how long that's gonna last, though? I mean, yeah, Albertsons would be separated from Safeway at this point, hopefully, for the Albertsons' sake, so they can stay within the competitive market of the retail grocer market, essentially. But um, the one thing is the foot traffic in Safeway is going to keep on fluctuating, but it's still going to stay strong. Within the Albertson stores, it'll get less and less. I'm not going to say the time of how long that'll last, but if I really research it, I could mention it later in the next video. Okay, I'm going to tell you one thing though. Is that the bridge thing? Getting back on the bridge thing that I read to you off of this phone of mine, and it's both on my Humanitarian advocate page as well as my C.R.P.H.A citizen advocate page, because I am doing it for the citizens on both accounts, for the citizens directly, as well as the citizens and the state of California's well-being and whatnot on the humanitarian aspect as well. And on the business side of things, is that Albertsons, I hope that you do take what I say to be honest and truthful, and that you will actually truthfully separate yourself from Safeway. Where Safeway's still around, like I said, and still strong and still large enough as they have been. Even though a number of years in between before Albertsons merged with them, that Safeway, not very many people know this, that Safeway was at one point in the Canadian market of the retail grocer market. They were then essentially asked to leave at some point or another because the Canadian market had their well trusted grocer already, and it even got bigger as it continuously competed with Safeway. I'm not going to say it hurt Safeway in any way, because it didn't, but it was more than conceivable that nobody really wanted Safeway there. Like many states still don't want Walmart where they are. That's also the truth. And also, with the fact that Walmart entering the Canadian market, at one point Target entered it. Guess who became the victor there? It wasn't Target. It was Walmart. Because they entered it way before Target did. Several years before Target ever entered the Canadian market. Pretty much like when Payless entered the Hawaiian market way too damn late, and that Longs entered the Hawaiian market several years, and I'm talking extremely several years within the 1950s, which was several years before Payless ever entered it. Longs entered it in the 1950s. So they weren't really ready for any on either side to have any side of the company on any part of the market to be hit so hard. Therefore, when Payless entered the Hawaiian market, they were just getting started. They weren't really competing with anybody in the beginning of entering the Hawaiian market, though. But they were competing with Longs in the Western and the Western market essentially. But in the Hawaiian market, they weren't quite yet. They were about to once they got established, but they weren't able to do that now because of the wide introduction and arrival of Walmart to start. The same thing will happen to Albertsons if Albertsons doesn't take what I said to be serious and truthful and logical. When it comes to the high volume of numbers of people trying out the Amazon.com grocery market, even though being that it will be an online service. And many online services have outnumbered a number of other retailers, but not for not. But after the course of I'd say 5-6 years, if not a little less, if not a little more, people still started still shopping uh, at uh, at the stores that were pretty much hit hard by the online shopping aspect. And even before they started the online shopping thing themselves, a number of. But here's the one thing though: many people, even within the retail industry, that even support and watch over the existence of Albert of the grocery market, the department store market, the pharmacy market of retailing. What they don't realize, even with the fact that the online aspect of the retail market has entered within the industry, it's all well and good to have choices and options to go to outside of the online. But it does not hurt to have a new, innovative one. So there has to be there. Each retailer needs to do one thing. And this is a business advocate thing, okay? Of C.R.P.H.A. But anyways, the retailer has to do one thing. They need to put in the variables of the online. Even if they can't afford it to do, even if they cannot afford to do the online service themselves, at first, especially, they need to weigh and put at that percentages levels of that within their the circle of the to where they'd be able to outweigh things or weigh things out essentially to where they'd be able to still stay in business. Even with only a certain number of people in their stores at various locations, if not just the one to start with, that they'll know that it won't hurt them. Not very many retailers use their heads on that now, do they? I mean, hell, not even. Of course, the even with Sears doing online retailing, even with I'd say Kmart did started doing that in the late '90s mostly. Um, and before Kmart merged with Sears, the CEO president that many people know now, he doesn't know. One fact of it is like I said before, he doesn't know the concept of retail at all. He doesn't know how to run a retail business. Yet they're still allowing him to stay within the corporate office. Many people may say, "Oh, it's because he knows too much about the company. He knows exactly their weak points and their not so weak points." Those weak points can easily be changed without his knowledge. Those weak points can be strong points and as well as they keep the other strong points, right? Now think about that as well. That way, Sears can easily grow back to the size that they were gradually. And the same thing could have easily been done by Toys R Us, even after the fact that the original founder passed away. But they started closing stores even before he passed away. And of course, aside from the fact that they say that they're they're going to try to make a comeback, Circuit City said the same thing. There hasn't been any true and actual proof of that for both retailers. There may never be any truth of those two retailers making an actual comeback. Later on, it might be said about the same thing with Radio Shack at some point, or maybe may not. I'm not going to say either or, right? So this this whole thing of what I said is an actuality. Everything I said on each topic is an actuality, and and it's reality. It's factual. Has been proven more often than not. And even the ones that, even the part of it that may have not been totally looked into, they will find it to be also logical and factual. And factual, 100%, even beyond 100%. There are many things that I did not mention, but I will mention, if not in this video. But I do hope that that people who made it this far so far understood that I had much to say, even if you did not expect it after clicking on to this video. But know that there's always going to be a possibility that I will have much to say. I may not say that much at all. Who's to say? I may just mention one topic and that's it. I may mention maybe 2, 3 topics. That's it, right? Who's to say? But the basic fact is, my aspect is not only to advocate, but to inform for the American people and to inform the American people. There is one addition that I will mention, and it's not business, it's not politics, because I've already said enough of that. Those two that I can pretty much think of at this point. But in the educational aspect, among the psychological aspect as well, I could easily maybe start out in my logical psychiatry aspect of things, to do this as well, and that is with the fact that many people had the question: should there be another Mr. Rogers? Many of those who are even around my age have watched Mr. Rogers when they were just as young as I was when I first saw it. Maybe a little old when they first saw it. But the basic fact is, Fred Rogers was a priest, from my understanding. But then he spanned over to do something for the benefit and well-being of children of every age. Me being one of them at the time. He started when TV was generally black and white. Then eventually went to Technicolor. Then the set changed. The set was revamped in the 1970s. I've seen the way that the set was in the black and white version, but he still taught the same thing. He showed the same positive, logical, emotional base and connection to and for the children of the United States, and it could easily be processed and translated into for other countries, for other children in other countries. Still the same positive. It would be still the same positive thing. He truly cared for the well-being, and he understood children more than parents themselves understand children, or even understood children even for the time. There's a song. There's one of many songs that he sang. Besides this ever famous song, "It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood." It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Besides that one, that one was good. That's his trademark, really, in that sense. Um, the other one was the other one was is that he also sang "It's You I Like." There's a video where he sings it along with on YouTube with a young child, now an adult, that's in a wheelchair. And when he was given an award, a lifetime achievement award, even though it was the Golden Globe type of thing, the same child that was in the wheelchair that he sang that song with, and this is also on YouTube. That child wheeled along the stage, alongside the stage, right towards him, as an emotional surprise, because he did something that was beneficial and positive, emotionally as well as educationally and whatnot else, for that child as well. As he did the same thing for every child watching him, even before that. So, should there be another Mr. Rogers, even with the name not being Rogers? it could be labeled as Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I mean, I'd be able to do it. I understood why he did it and how he did it and more. A lot more than people, a lot more than even children aside from me understood even or even paid attention to really. And I'm not going to say I'm better. I'm not going to say that I'm better because of that or due to that, but it's an actuality that I understand and I know why. I actually fully paid attention over the years. From I kind of reconnected to myself from a very young age when I was a very young age, right? And I put that whole knowledge aspect to where I am right now, and it's going to continue all the way through because it'll keep on adding more information up here, no matter what I do. So, should there be another Mr. Rogers? What do you think? What do you parents and possibly soon to be parents think? If you watch the videos of Mr. Rogers on DVD, you'll see all the things that I mentioned. He did everything within his knowledge of children when it came to even though he took some classes in the educational aspect for children and when it came to children the child education aspects and whatnot, right? He did a lot more than that. But the basic fact is that he used all that plus more, and he even practiced it. He showed it. He totally did things that exuded from him that every parent was essentially able to see. Eventually, that he was doing something that was even more psychologically, emotionally, and intellectually, and what have you else for the child. That was more than 100% positive. So I encourage every parent out there to get every edition, every episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, even if you only watch it on here, but you may, if you want to see the whole in whole entire aspect of the video, it's on DVD. And if you still have a VHS player, it might be also on VHS, but you'd have to you'd have to go through some online variouses to get that. Much more than you would the DVD. And I'm not going to say the number of them are still in stores. I saw a number of them in the Blockbuster stores, but Blockbuster is now non-existent to this point. And I'm not going to say Best Buy or Target or or Walmart might have it. I'm not going to say that because I can't really say. I'm not gonna, if I knew, believe me, I'd tell you. I'm that honest and truthful enough. So I might at some point. I'm not gonna exactly say when, because I gotta prepare for it. I might do that. Not really. It may not be under C.R.P.H.A though, because people might think it's political. What a hardship. And yet, I advocate for our youth's education under C.R.P.H.A education advocate. But every time I mention advocacy, that I do advocacy, people automatically think political, political, political. And it's not really 100% that. I talk about politics, yes, but I also talk about other things, as you will see if you watch a number of my other videos. So if you think there should be another Mr. Rogers, let me know in the bottom comment thing. And if you want to know more of what I said and what I've said in the other videos, comment on the bottom of the video. And if you want to talk, we can talk either on Facebook Messenger, because eventually Google will completely wipe clean of the Google G+. That's their choice. It's their operating system, their choice. If they weren't going to do that, which is supposed to happen in April at some point, if they didn't choose to do that, then I'd say, yeah, we can also talk about it via G+ Hangout. But I'm not gonna do that because I don't know exactly if I'm gonna be having any discussion with anybody. So basically, Facebook Messenger is your next best thing. So if you also, if you do agree with what I said on the two topics, and if you do believe or don't believe there should be another Mr. Rogers, and tell me why. And if you do agree or do not agree with what I said, tell me why. And if you want to talk about it more, or even learn more, or even also join me in the advocating aspect, please let me know in that aspect, and we can talk if you'd like. This is C.R.P.H.A, humanitarian advocate and citizen advocate, and as well as you noticed, I added C.R.P.H.A, the business advocate. We here at C.R.P.H.A believe that everybody has freedom of choice, rights, and also if they strongly believe in what I believe in, or even if I don't stand by what you believe in, hey, that's fine. I respect that either way. But the one thing is, I don't force anybody to believe what I believe, especially when it comes to politics. It's their choice. But I don't want nobody to try to manipulate the fact that if I don't believe that what they say when it comes to politics, something's wrong. I don't do that to people, so it should not be done to me. And with that, I hope everybody has a safe and happy weekend, and there will be eventually another video, but I'm not going to say exactly when. But when there is, you'll know about it. C.R.P.H.A. Have a good day, and may Heavenly Father bless you all, and Trump for 2020. Because I know the women will not be able to, not even Kamala Harris will not be able to survive or even succeed, even with the fact that she hasn't really addressed any aspect of when it comes to the racial situation that she was accused of. And there might be more to that as well. But oh yeah, before I go, one other addition: Nancy Pelosi, or as many people call her, Pig Losi. I like that. It is believed that she has full control over the Liberal Democratic Party. It might be even thought the same thing with Joe Biden, the once well-trusted politician. He's not that trusted anymore. If you saw her comment about when it came to Trump, believe me, the liberal Democrats will say anything and everything to have it to where they have the American people believe it. Yeah, but yet they'll say anything for people to believe it and try to make it sound so true in the sense of brainwashing. When they don't even practice what they preach or even what they promise, in the sense of the same basis of preaching. So basically, Nancy Pelosi does not have full control of the liberal Democratic Party, even with the current feminist aspect of things, and also with the current feminist aspect of things. The ERA was enough. We at C.R.P.H.A. support the ERA, in who was known as the feminist movement of the 1970s. The feminist movement of the 1970s of ERA marched and protested from 1972 to 1978. I was born in between there, so I was aware. I wasn't really aware of it until like much later, but not really that far much later. But I was within when that happened. The feminist movement of today makes no fucking sense. It's not really logical. The Me Too movement makes no sense because they keep on changing their values and whatnot as well. And the meaning of why there's a feminist movement or why there's a Me Too movement. In the beginning of the Me Too movement, though, too, as many people may not be aware or probably are aware, is that they wanted men to join. I may have mentioned this before, but the basic fact is that the reason they want men to join is so they can brainwash them and have them believe that what men's real place in society is, to be circumvented by the female and to be the loyal subject of the female, to do whatever the female says and what they believe and whatnot else, and forget for have the male to forget about their futures and well-beings and whatnot, and even when it comes to their financial base, to always spend the money on the woman. But they won't tell the male that straight out until he's a full member. That's why I am a MGTOW member. Undead Chronic is not, but he's voicing out it as if he is, but I respect him that he's not. But I also support him and back him up on the aspect of he's voicing out the truth even when it comes to the red pill, and people call it theology, analogy, whatever. When it comes to the red pill, that is. But the basic fact is that the red pill of MGTOW is out. It is totally outweighing the feminist movement of today for a good reason. And many people have seen, I'm sure, many videos on YouTube that say that or women say that they're not part of the feminist movement. They haven't really proven it. All they've been doing is this. Just saying that you're not a feminist doesn't prove shit, ladies. Proving it continuously and no bullshit sneaky crap will prove it. No brainwashing of the male will prove that you're not a feminist. Not practicing and verbalizing various things that connect with feminism will prove it. I will not deal with a feminist. I will not marry a feminist. And that is if I ever married again. Yes, I was married once before, but the basic fact is that even if let's put this way, if I were to, okay, this is not really a MGTOW thing, but if I were to have a child, or the children that I, if I had child or children with a woman, I'm not going to say that I did, but as you know, that I was married. But if I did, or even if I didn't, I would still make sure that woman is safe. And that's the advocacy part of me right there. The struggle. And but also, I'm not a nice guy. You piss me off, you'll see. You'll see it. I can be very, very, very persuasive if I want to be, but for a logical reason. And I can be very nice. But the one thing is, you cross me in any way and for any reason, even when it comes to relationship situations. And since even if you cheat on me or do me wrong in any other way, you'll know about it. That's true. But in any case, the feminist movement of today is not logical, is not realistic. The Me Too movement is a load of shit as well. On the same aspect as what I've said many times about the feminist movement. You and women the women that claim that they're feminists, and even the ones that have claimed that they're not, they can say it all they want that they are or not, but it's not gonna help them in any way. It doesn't help the female gender in any way. It doesn't boost them up either. It doesn't boost them up intellectually. It doesn't entice men to want to be with them. It doesn't do anything like that, or anything even beyond that. It does things on the negative levels. Let's put it this way: the biological clock within women ticks louder and louder the older they get, from teens to 20s and beyond. The only time it stops ticking is when they hit, say, 50, if not 60. And the biological clock is not really their time left on this planet. What it is their, shall we say, fertile days and their levels of fertility. And their levels of fertility and the possibility of ever being able to bear a child or even have a child in that sense, to make it easier to put, that or even conceive one for that matter, that fertility base shrinks. Every second of their life can get smaller, but at minuscule levels. You know, many women think it goes from when they're like when they become into the maturity aspect of things, that it's right here, but as they get older, it goes like that. But really, it goes stays there till about maybe 18, 19. Then it starts going gradual, every shorter than a millimeter. But as they get, when they hit like say 30, it goes a little faster though, just that tiny bit faster. Men don't have biological clocks. We don't have to. Us men don't have to worry about that. Women do. So the feminist movement and the Me Too movement needs to disband because you're not doing anything positive for this for the country and for the population of the women. You're making things worse by even brainwashing them in the sense of where they think that the man has to be circumvented and bow down to the woman when really even with the fact that in the 1920s and 30s and whatnot, women were to supposedly said, and it was said to do what the man said. Logically, they didn't really have to do it, but if they really wanted to be with a man, then basically it would be things were more even though in the 1920s and 30s they seemed to be like this. You know what I mean? Where the guy was up here, right here, and the woman was right here, but then eventually it would be here for a bit, and then kind of this way again, and then this way a little bit, and then this way, right? And then eventually, like that again. But the basic fact is, it's always been like this. The woman, being the woman, doesn't have to really do what the man says, as long as they don't disrespect him in the relationship by cheating on him and by doing anything else that's wrong and negative. If they really truly want to be with him, and if they and one the other thing is, women cannot manipulate a woman because a woman cannot manipulate a man if they want to be with him, even if they don't. And if they want to just get at him for his money and whatnot, his generally pocketbook, wallet. If you can't be honest with a man, and if you can't, and if you're not going to be respectful, even in a relationship, and you're only doing things to benefit you, you're not really doing yourself any favors either. Or you're not benefiting you or even if you have a child or not, you're not benefiting both. And when a woman is a single mother, it makes things even harder, not only in the financial aspect, but in emotional and other aspects. I'm not going to say it's the same for men because it kind of sways different ways for men. But for women, it's a complete opposite. It makes it harder for the woman to even be back in a relationship after they screw over a man, even in the court system. Truth. So the feminism, the women who claim that they are not feminists, the people who claim that they are feminists, you're not doing yourself any better by just saying it and trying to make various topic levels of proving it. The best way to prove that you are or not. That if you are a feminist, you can prove it all you want. You can talk all you want, but it's not gonna matter to any man, and you're making yourself look bad, and also you're never gonna get a man because your biological clock will essentially tick even louder at the older you get. For women, that is. And trying to explain or even prove that you're not by making various topics of reasons of why you're not and how you're not and all this other stuff, that ain't gonna do you any good either. If you want to know how and why, or how to actually do it, if you're really clueless, even if you claim that you're not, I can give you pointers and help you through it through illogical psychiatry on Facebook. If you want to know more of what I said even before this, and more information of what I said and why, even before what I mentioned just now, then we can talk on Facebook Messenger via C.R.P.H.A. Citizen Advocate, or C.R.P.H.A. Humanitarian Advocate, or C.R.P.H.A. Business Advocate, both on Facebook. But let me know on the bottom comments section of this video. Have a good day, and may Heavenly Father bless you all.